Go on.
Well, you're all old hands at the game. All know what it's all about. I can run through it all again and again and again. But anybody like to say something or got some question or something to start it off with? We'll go from there.
Yeah, Michelle had a question. You want to ask your question? And we're going to just start over on karma?
Well, we're talking about karma.
Yeah.
And
I understand karma.
a lot of the mysticism of the word is it's all overlaid because karma comes from the probably Sanskrit, but maybe Pali word karma, which just means action. It's just part of the comes from the root of the word action. So it just means to act. So, and then over that action you have good and bad action and cause and effect and everything else. But if you go back to just simple action, you can see one action will have a certain effect and another action will have another effect. Apparently.
Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah.
Because
in the whole illusion of the appearance of things.
So if you do something in 5 years' time, something bad might happen to you. You know, there's that idea of karma.
it's an
or
idea.
next lifetime.
Isn't bad is a label that we put on it?
Yes.
It is.
It's just what it is.
Yes. I would say this is probably the best explanation or idea of karma as a cause and effect from the guru I had in India, in Tejgyan. He says, if there is an action, what follows the action is a certain neural pathways in the brain are being formed. So the habit follows. The habit is the consequence of action. So if I go and steal something, the first time I may have, doesn't sit right. But if I do it again, it's kind of getting easier, and then it may become a habit. And now the effect of the action is a habit, and that habit will run my life. And in this way, it kind of takes off the idea of, why God has done it to me, why would that happen to me, or how did I deserve it, or what I have done wrong, and why do I have to pay, what am I paying for? All that self-obsession that happened to me is taken out of it. And still the consequence is, if the habit pattern or idea came to my head to go and steal or do something or gossip about someone, and the result follows with the habit pattern, I'm innocent. I didn't choose that thought. That thought was a result of the whole universe conspiring, my parents, my society, my school. And consequences still there. So it's not that, on one hand, I'm completely innocent of that pattern, and on the other hand, I'm fully responsible, because the consequence is here. My own action, my own behavior is being altered. But the idea, that naive idea that, I had a car accident because maybe I didn't pray in the evening. That's a childish thinking that is, I think it is like, what was it? There is this beautiful idea of spectrum of consciousness that Ken Wilber popularized. It's not his idea, but that,
What was that?
The spiral dynamics that Tony loves so much.
Yes, I like it.
Yes, that, it's like a mythical thinking, that you were a child and you think you can just kind of, make a deal with the universe. Like, okay, I'll pray tonight, and tomorrow I won't be asked at school or class, or the exam will be cancelled. That's sort of the thinking. That way, that's, in my opinion, that way of naivety is connected to the cause and effect in a way. We interpret what's happening to us.
So is there no real way to transcend those habits of the brain to change them consciously, and if they do change, we're not really in control of that anyway. Yeah.
Starting from the wrong direction.
Right.
Like that.
Always.
So, well, I call it NO, but we've all done it, and we all continue to. If it's action, the whole manifestation is action and reaction and response. But we take it on as karma as a personal, gonna doer, and the person gonna get done to, whatever you're looking at. Where's karma if there's no person to react to it or have a response? If it's cause and effect, can there be effect without a cause? And if you think it's a cause, a personal cause, who's the cause? Me, so-called me. But we think me cause all our accidents and all our problems and all our sicknesses. It's what it all appears on. But when you investigate the me, how separate is the me from any of it? Or any of life? How separate from anything else? It's all the one essence, just doing whatever it's doing. Like movements or actions come on the ocean, it's still calm. Movements come on it, what happens? Come ripples, waves, or tsunamis, or whatever. And who's taking the blame for it? Show me any separate thing or person or thing in this manifestation that can take the blame for any of it.
If you overeat or something, if you eat too much and then your stomach hurts, that's sort of like fairly instant karma.
Yeah. Or you drink and you get drunk.
Yes.
But there's no one there to be affected.
Yeah.
So there's no.
So
It's just what happens, yes.
there has to be two to be a cause.
Yeah.
So there's no cause because there's not two.
Yeah. Good way to put it, yes.
Right. Can there be an effect without a cause? How's it going to open it?
But see, I still don't understand it because that example, you may learn from that experience, like that eating something upsets your stomach and you might get pain from it. So you may recognize that connection, so then you alter your behavior so that you don't have that experience again. Isn't that a sense of directing
Who's the you?
the outcome?
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
Who's the you that's having it? That's what needs to be investigated. That's where all our problems come about. When they believe we're separate entities, individual. We believe we are this person. Can you find a static point in that body anywhere where you can say this is where I begin? And can you separate it from the elements, air, earth, water, fire, space, off there? You can't.
No, yeah, I mean, I can understand that position, but it really does feel like there's an awareness that is entangled with this particular body mind in some way. Like if somebody else eats something that upsets their stomach, I haven't got a direct awareness of that. So there is some sort of awareness that is entangled with this particular body mind.
Yeah. Like all the cells in your body are all suffused with intelligence energy, and each one knows what to do. So even in your body, your liver cells are going to be troubled by a skin cell or a skin cell. You see the same thing. It's the idea of separation, which is the cause of all our problems. There is nothing separate in it whatsoever. Now it appears to be so. It'll still appear to be so. But appearance is not a sexuality, it's reality. That body, is just a vibration. This is just a vibrating pattern of energy. It's changing, it's constantly changing. It's not the same body I had this morning or a few minutes ago. It's hundreds of thousands of cells are dying in it right now. There's 3 trillion cells or something in it, and they're constantly changing. So take that body as a whole and everything that's going on in it is like
Society.
yeah, it's like the people in the different patterns, different bacteria, different viruses, different. Take it, but it's all functioning as a one body, isn't it? But when you when you break it down further, it's just the one essence that's doing it all. And it's the idea of separation that divides it up, seemingly divides it. And it can't help but appear to be otherwise, you know. There couldn't be day without night, silence without sound, winter without summer, or movement without stillness. Without that seeming division and pairs of opposites, what would it be?
So if you were over 8 Bob and you had something like, some reaction in the stomach, how would you deal with that?
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens when it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And whatever the response is there is what comes up. Like I mean,
But you can't remember something from the past even though it doesn't exist.
Well,
yes,
many different
the
occasions.
past,
Everyone different.
the past can be very useful. But the mind is not the enemy because it can be useful, but because it vibrates dualistically, it is self-destructive. You know, when we take it, we're related to me, it's my mind or myself. When they tell you there's only one self, there's only one Atman, everything is that one self experience. Or related to myself, well, the conceptual idea of me or mine is going to have the feeling or the conscious, whatever it is, the consequences will be playing up in the body, in the mind, whatever it is. But what happens to it all in the end?
Well, sometimes when that happens to me, I just look at the feelings or what's going on, and then you seem to step back and it unravels at its own pace.
Right. You see who's it happening to? And you can't find anything static or any independent there. So then you can go into a mind stuff about it, or yes, because of this, it was because of that, or this, or that, and keep it going. Concepts in the mind. If you just said, well, what can I do? I would leave it as it is, see what comes up next. And it'll be certainly change of some sort.
And then I seem to learn from those situations,
You seem to, and you seem to be able to direct and change your behaviour for the next time. So it's like that's why I get so confused, because there seems to be an illusion of free will. It seems to be a mixture of free will and not free will. Like sometimes there appears to be free will. So if you have an experience and you decide to do something different next time, that appears to the mind like.
Who for?
Yeah.
Who for? Obviously me, isn't it? It's happening to me when it's but there again, go back and investigate the me again. What's the me? A conceptual idea you have about yourself. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fellow, this, that, that. An energy of belief goes into that, and it's seemingly so.
Well, I still get really stuck on that, because I can see that there is an awareness. Like I'm always aware, and there's these thoughts that are coming up. Sometimes that feel directed, like I can have a thought about a certain musical piece or whatever. It all that seems directed, and then sometimes it seems random, like I can't control the thoughts. But there seems to be an awareness that, as I said before, is entangled with this particular body mind and not other people's body minds, that I, because of that, because I have this awareness is entangled with this, that I'm labeling me. It might not be a permanent entanglement, but for now, it is what I call me.
Did you say there's always an awareness there? Didn't you say that? And things come up and seemingly obscure it or get it out of the road. But if that awareness wasn't there, could any of these other things come up? And you say you don't see it, and every other seeming pattern is a pattern in awareness also, and there are unique patterns and expressions. So,
Well, why, if I'm just awareness, if I'm everything, how come I can't have an experience of something besides this body mind? How come I can't have an experience of your body mind if I am that?
well, if you are that, whatever happens is an appearance in that. It's all Maya, illusion, a phenomenal manifestation. Definition of phenomenon, that which appears to be. It's only appearing to be so. Like the water appears to be in a mirage, water appears to be in a mirage, a mirage, yeah. There's no water there. A rainbow seems to be full of colour, but there's no colour up there. It's only a reflection of the sun. All these things appear to be so. You appear to be that body mind, that person. But are you the body? Are you the mind when you investigate these things? And as I said before, is there a static point anywhere in your body where you can say this awareness starts or it finishes or ends it? And what is awareness? You can only recognise it from the fact that you're not, you're not unaware, because you're seeing, you're hearing, doing all those things now. So if you're not unaware, you must be awareness. But you can't say what awareness. You can't say what consciousness is. But you know it. There's a knowing there, pure knowing, without putting in the label, the shape and form. That's all the labels we put on everything. But the label's not the thing, the word's not the thing. Have a look at that. How many words were you born with? And you don't remember any words at your birth. You don't even remember your birth. And you didn't know anything until the word started. So that's where all the problems come about, when the thinking came about. All problems are problems of the so-called mind. And show me your mind. Is there anything substantial there or solid you can say this is mine? You say my mind effortlessly and naturally all the time, all my mind talks. But what is your mind? Have we ever had a look? Is there anything there that you can say this is mine? And when you investigate and look into it, there's nothing. You say they're apart from thought. What we have thoughts, we call that mind, the thinking. And what's thought? When your real thought's only a vibration, a mental construct that has no substance whatsoever. A concept, mental construct. And that's all this manifestation, mental constructs. Appearing in something we call mind, but we can't give you this thing that's encapsulated. The only way it gets encapsulated is in between two thoughts. Good, bad, pleasant, painful, me and other than me. It's what Whitman says, I'm not contained between my hat and my boots. They're the two ends. Everything seemingly has two ends. There's no one that is sticky. All the one stick. It's still all one and the same thing. Everything is that. Everything. So-called thing. Appears solid and substantial. We reinforce it day in and day out. And so it seemingly we're locked into it. But the other way around, when you're recognising it day in, day out and seeing the falseness of it, then it has no importance to you after that. Things will still come up and it'll still appear the same way. But it's no big deal anymore. You can let it go. Don't be bothered with it. And see what unfolds next. It could cause thought, feeling and emotional. Come up, they all come up. Just the same as in nature, steam, water and ice. It's the same thing, three aspects of the one. Steam is very, very subtle. You don't see it when it's first come out until it condenses a little bit and becomes steam. Then that steam cools, it'll become the liquid, water. And then the water cools long enough, it'll become ice, solid. So when you say thought, feeling and emotion are one and the same thing, and we call it spirit and matter. Spirit is the very subtle essence, and matter is simply when it condenses or solidifies.
I know that I'm still going to be asking things from the wrong angle here, but
Yeah.
because I still don't get it, and I suppose the mind is never going to get it really anyway. So, but I still don't understand that if everything is seamless, whole, connected, why I have to have this experience, a localized experience. Like, why can't I just, if I'm just awareness and or consciousness and everything is consciousness, why can't my consciousness just jump into the cat or something like that, and I experience things from the cat? Why is it fixed?
Your consciousness is in the cat.
But how come it's not my experience?
Because you're still naming and claiming. You're still identifying with a separate me. So that separate me, which is an image you have about yourself, can only live in your memory, and it's either projected into the future or it's a memory from the past. And so you're identifying with that. But in reality, everything is one. And I know it's a hard thing to grasp, but the habit is the clunky mind goes, like Bob was saying, all problems are problems of relationship to me and the other. And the mind can only work that way. And what you said before was quite right. I guess I'll never grasp it with the mind, or I guess you're quite right.
Yeah.
Because the mind's parameters are only duality. They're two. So it's pleasure, pain, happy, sad, me, you.
So.
The
Sorry.
other thing is to have a look. We go back as far as you can remember. What were you doing for the first 2 years of your life before you learnt words?
I can't remember. I don't know. Just experiencing things very, very directly.
Yes. You can't remember because you had no words. It was just a spontaneous functioning. So why did this all this happen to you? Because you learnt these words. And that's all we've all done. That's what it tells you in the Bible plainly and clearly. In the beginning it was the Word. There was no problem before we learnt the words. That's when you seemingly began. You can't say you began because you can't remember your birth. And we've learnt words without question from our parents, school, society, and continue to learn them till up to times like this you start to look into all this and see. So naturally we take on the conditioning one way or another, because you're going to go to school, you're going to learn more words and going to mix with people that are telling you you're a separate entity, you're a person, you're this, that and the other, and you're not good enough and you're fearful. We're doing it constantly day in, day out. And then we're doing it so much that we start saying the same thing ourselves. Right? This is me, I'm Bob, I'm so-and-so and so-and-so, and reinforcing it constantly. So to start looking at this stuff, it turns it all on its end, out of the road. Because what are you going to relate to if you haven't got a reference point? What were you before words? You don't know. But you still were. So it doesn't mean to say you are prior to thought from that point. So in that prior thought, there was just a natural, spontaneous alertness or knowingness or awareness, whatever you like to call it. Wasn't happening to me till you learnt words. And you learnt words like I and me. That's the beginning of it. And you can't do much with the words I or me. So make them so much. Put a little bit, I'm Bob, the Australian, I'm a good fellow, I'm not so good. All the concepts I've got about myself are added onto that. And they're all dead images, all based on past events. What's the image about yourself right now? without relating it. You just are, aren't you? Not a thing going on even, just I don't even have to say I am. But that awareness is there, which we call awareness, put a label on it, which we can't say what it is. And you go to sleep at night, you think the awareness is gone. But you wake up in the morning, you say, I slept well. How do you know? You realise I wasn't there as the person, but I must have been there because I've woken up. And I can say I had a good sleep. You could say something that you didn't even know was going on at the time in the mind, because the mind was in abeyance, but the awareness and what appears on it is still there.
Sometimes I wake up and I think I haven't had a good sleep, and I go back to sleep and wake up again and go, that's better.
Well, when you're saying you haven't had a good sleep,
Yeah.
what's the name when you can say that?
Oh, because my body feels
You were
tired
weird.
and unrefreshed.
Hmm?
My body feels tired and
Yeah.
unrefreshed.
Well, you can recall what's
But
going on
that's
there.
like an instant, just, you know.
You can
It's
you can recall what was going on during the night when you woke up,
Well,
when you tossed and turned, you know, and vaguely there.
no, you know. So that doesn't fully make sense to me, you know, that I feel like it's a on the spot decision because I can check out the body.
Well, it doesn't matter about decision. You must recognise that you are still existing, still alive.
I don't know
That,
that. I don't know about that.
well, you don't know about it because you say I had a bad sleep or a good sleep.
Well,
If
just
it would,
because I check my body when I'm,
yeah, well, how could you check your body if you weren't that life essence, wasn't there?
well, that seems to reappear again. Does that make sense?
So do you really think that when you slept at night there was no breathing or heartbeat or rejuvenation of the body or brain was dead or something?
Actually, I can remember my little sister when she was about 2. She said, when I woke up and started to breathe.
Yeah. Can you see how conceptual is that? Yeah, you can't really say anything maybe because your recording, your memory wasn't working. If the memory was still recording stuff, which means the symbolic language was in operation, you would probably say something like, I was dreaming about being in hell or heaven or somewhere. You know, the dreams.
Yes.
That shows that
I
there was
recall
an
dreams
activity.
sometimes,
Yes.
not enough.
But when there is no language involved, when there are no symbols, images happening, what would be recorded? You can't record nothing, so there is nothing to say. But it doesn't mean that you were dead, it just means there is nothing to say. There's nothing that have been recorded, as if you put the tape recorder and recorded silence. Is it nothing there or is it silence? It's just, see how conceptual it is. Really what we focus on here is right now, is this moment. Whether you slept right now or you existed last week or 10 years or 10,000 years, it's just a story. Also the purpose, somebody was asking here, what's the purpose? Why the awareness? Why I can't take another locations? Those are also all conceptual stories, that this is happening because of something or for something, that it is for the reason, it is. All those stories are invented by the mind. This is all because of the potential of creativity of the mind. And just for the record, it is possible what you were saying, that, you know, I want to experience myself as a cat or as a tree or something else. It is very possible. If the field, space-like awareness or aliveness creates that strong desire in particular body, that desire can be followed. Special training may be acquired, and the life can be completely surrendering into achieving those powers. I had glimpses of those powers because the retreat that I've done in India with Sershi, we had, you know, like when you wipe off your mind, completely stop the mental activities, just senses going on, but no interpretation of whatever is being sensed. You are in a pure plain being, state of being. You can very easily, whatever you look at, you become that what you look. You look at the tree, oh my gosh, this is all I know about myself, I'm the tree. And you sense the being of the tree or the being of an animal. And just because I did some exercises, and Nisargadatta was describing it exactly the same way, word to word, when he was talking about the finger, the index finger and the thumb touching each other. When you identify with one, this is the feeler, and this is the felt. You can reverse it very easily, just conceptually. And you can also experience a glimpse of the being in other. But I tell you, from experience, why isn't it a default mode? Imagine if by default you could experience absolutely every being around. I tell you, I was telling it on one of the meetings, going down the escalator after I've done the shopping, and suddenly that mode just activated itself, and I could see people passing, it was me passing, and then another person passing, it was also me passing. And after a moment, there was about 20 of them, because it's a big shopping mall. And it was so overwhelming, I would have to say, okay, enough, otherwise I'll just fall off at the end of the escalator. It's just gonna make me dysfunctional. Yeah, so the pure functioning requires from the awareness to create that network in the brain that creates a sense of location. That, see the cat, it doesn't identify as a person, but Bob was telling me that the cat has whiskers here. And if he is going through a tight hole, his whiskers are telling his shape. So if the head with the whiskers can fall through, the rest of the body can also fall through. This is how the cat's brain is learning about its size and shape, so it can be functional. So we do have the sense of location. We look from this angle, through the eyes, through the ears. We have the rough feeling of the shape for the sake of functioning, because otherwise, how would the awareness see the world if it didn't have the eyes? The eyes need location. And to have location, that location needs to be protected, defended. So the whole systems that brain, survival strategies that brain developed for, and it was again life developing it. Life developing the brain, and the brain developing those strategies. So it is a practical function. It doesn't mean that it can't be learned or experienced or even glimpsed otherwise.
But is it impossible to completely transcend that locality, that individuation, because we need to survive?
Well, it is possible.
Is it possible to have glimpses,
yes.
but not to transcend it fully?
Well, you will transcend it fully on the moment when you die.
Yes, yeah.
Isn't, like, that's a unique pattern, this is a unique pattern, isn't this unique, they're all unique patterns as part of the one manifestation?
Totally.
You know what I mean? So there's a uniqueness stemming out of this pattern.
Yeah.
Like, it's different, not different, but it's like, it's unique to that.
Yeah.
I know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know. The being,
hard to
though,
call,
the sense of being and the awareness of being is not unique. It's just like every wave is different, has different height, different shape, different speed of moving in the ocean. You have many waves. They're all uniquely different. Every snowflake is different. But the being, awareness of being, because it doesn't have any qualities, it can't be different. It can't be warmer or cooler or vibrating faster or slower, because it has no qualities. So it is a basic screen. It is completely blank.
That's what they say. All things are possible in the manifestation. That's why they're so-called city powers. They're all quite possible. Everything is possible in the manifestation. But the manifestation is fiction anyway.
Is what, sorry?
Fiction.
It's
Yeah.
Maya. It's Maya. It's illusion.
All surface stuff. So it's all surface stuff.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
That's all which.
Surface. It's all surface stuff appearing on that oneness, you know.
It's like a dream in itself, isn't it?
And you can have a
That
lot of
creates a
fun in
duality.
lucid dreaming.
Pardon?
That creates a sense of duality, though. If you're saying that there's surface stuff, the surface activity,
I see
and
what you're saying.
underneath there's
Mhm.
wholeness, that's
All
duality.
I mean is when you're operating, when you're oh God, how can I put this? When you're operating from a sense of presence and you know you're not the me, the stuff that goes on the mind, to use language, appears to be surface stuff, just like I appear to be and they appear to be. To me, it's objective, you know. So it's just having to use language to communicate. You
And
know.
also
Yeah.
surface and the depth. If you think of the ocean, they're still all water. They're still all one. On the surface, there is an appearance. There is some sort of a storm or activity
Be a lot of
going on.
foam, a lot of ripples.
Foam on the ripples, yeah.
We were talking,
But it's still water.
we were talking before about the entanglement of I in mind. The entanglement of I in awareness.
Yes.
It's good to remember that awareness cannot be entangled in anything.
That's
Ah,
right.
yes.
So the problem is the I,
Yes, that's right.
not the awareness.
That's right.
Yes.
The awareness is not sublimated or dominated by anything
That's
that
right.
appears to happen.
And that's the label we put on it. See, that's why we get confused. We think there's such a thing as awareness.
Yeah. And we start looking for it.
But as I say, can you put any shape or any form or anything else? But the only way you know it is, are you unaware right now? And you know I'm not unaware, so you must be that wakefulness or awareness, whatever time they put on it. It's not something you can grasp, but it is the basic screen in which everything appears, plays around and disappears. It's never been corrupted or contaminated by anything at all.
It's like the mirror is always the mirror, and the images in it are always the images in it.
But if there's
They're not the mirror.
but if everything is whole, just like energy manifesting constantly, and people do, and there is a, what am I trying to say? How can having a sense of I be wrong then? Like if everything's whole and everything as it is, and most people, most humans, do identify with a localized sense of I, sense of me. If everything's whole and everything's perfect, how can that not be a manifestation of
That's
of
how
that?
it manifests.
Yeah, you got it. It's
In
all right.
All its variety, all its diversity. But when you investigate it, what has ever happened? In your dream, when you wake up from the dream, when did it ever happen? How did it happen? Can you pinpoint it? I was in such and such a place where the dream seemingly took place, or I said this or I said that. When you wake up, what's happened to it? And all this manifestation is the same. It's all appearing to be so. Seeming, the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. Another word for appearing, it's only seemingly so. Seems quite real.
Oh, it does, baby.
Yeah.
In fact, I can't imagine anything else, really, because it is.
Good. Well, don't imagine anything. Nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination.
Okay.
Don't image in. That's what we do. We image in. And that'll continue to happen. And it's quite the opposite. But we think the person is doing it. The person's never done a thing.
And I love what Bob says, all conflict, all problems are problems of relationship. You know, and so when you really see that, whatever comes up just dissipates, you know. Because you can see so clearly that all problems are problems of relationship. Do you understand that? So,
a perception of some sort of duality to relationship, more than one.
Yeah. So how I see it is if I'm identifying as Jane, and something comes along that I don't like, well, you know, I'll resist it. You know, and you know, if I'm just cruising along, the actions are taking place, there's no doer, everything that happens just sort of flows along, you know. But the reason we're here is because somewhere we got sick of that. You know, so something's dragged us here to listen to Bob, to hear about non-duality, you know.
The suffering caused by that.
All problems are problems of relationship. So, and there's no answers in the mind. None.
Damn.
Good way of looking at it. Look at the mirror down there. I say this every time. Nobody bothers to look now. What do you see in there?
Images.
Images. Now, is Tony in that image in the mirror saying to over there, "Hey, well, you're different from me, and I don't want what you've got," or something? Or is that Adrian saying, "Look at cat in the background there"? Is he any of those reflections separate from the mirror?
No,
Go on, can you grab one? None of them got any substance. You can't say they're not there. So they appear to be are there. You can't say they are there when you try to grab them, and they're not there. So what are they? What are they in essence?
Real images, but
Pardon?
The real and not real.
Yeah,
yeah,
they
real
neither.
not real.
Real what?
Real and not real.
Yeah, can't say they really can't say they're not real. But they appear to be so. Now, is that mirror, the essence in which they appear in the background, is that contaminated or corrupted or touched or hurt in any way?
No.
And do any of those reflections in the mirror got to say, well, I am the mirror, or I am aware of the mirror? No, that's the same as this awareness that they apparently try and put a label on. It's not, but it's just the same as that. And that reflecting surface in the mirror reflects everything. And have a look and see if there's any space in that mirror that's not a reflection. Now it appears that we see the space in the background, we see all the space in the mirror. It appears to be space in the mirror, but there's nothing that is not reflected. It's totally full of reflections. So is this manifestation the same. Totally full of patterns, shapes and forms. None of them can contaminate it or corrupt it. They only appear to be there.
All the patterns, shapes and forms are Maya. It's all Maya.
Yeah.
Or another word for it, or another way of describing it is surface stuff.
But the problem is we're identifying with one thing in that mirror, our
Yes.
body. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the separation. The image we have of that ourselves.
It's interesting in language that, Bob was saying we can't do much about I, but when you take the word individual, if you look at the actual meaning of individual, it means that which cannot be divided.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
In means not, individual, that which cannot be divided.
That's great.
There you go.
Sometimes
There's some hints in all of this.
the word can say what it appears to be not, but it's still a label,
That's right, and that's what
and it's
pointers
still
are.
covering reality.
Exactly.
And then someone comes and say, look how many individuals.
What ironic that that word
Yes.
changed that whole word.
Not divided. That's great. I love that. I'll keep that one.
You can have it.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
Royalties. Well, when you say in the beginning was the word, is that we're saying like from the first word, that's when all this illusion started?
For you. And
Yeah,
for me.
and for man, it's time itself, or
For the conceptual image.
Or the conceptual image, yeah.
The
back
word.
us up.
and all thoughts come from learnt words.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see that's what I say in the beginning was the word, tells you that. And the other one is that Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden. In paradise. Everything was right, but they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Good and evil was not just good and evil, but they learnt words. Before they had any language, they're going along quite all right. When they learnt words, they're in deep shit.
And good and evil, and they ate from good and evil as the pairs of opposites.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
That's what that story's about.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The birth of dualism.
Yeah, dualism, that's right. You got it. You got it, babe.
But all those words,
Yeah.
the ability to communicate and to use point and label and divide reality up into dualistic concepts comes from the fact that we have a complex brain. That comes from our brain, isn't
That's
it?
right.
Yeah.
Our brain's ability to do that.
What a useful instrument,
Mm-hmm.
as long as it doesn't use.
And when did you, what in the womb, how many months were you before the brain developed even? But you were still living and coming together then.
Yeah, true. Can't remember
And
that.
if, you know, that life essence is going through that body and formed the brain and utilising the body. The brain can't do anything at all without the life.
Yes, yes. So it's the life essence that comes first. What do you what's your name for it?
Intelligence energy.
Well, I call it intelligence energy. You can
Intelligence.
call it God. Aye.
But is that the same as what some people will call consciousness, or some people would call awareness, or
All sorts of things. And they give it 1,000 names of Vishnu or God. Is given thousands of different names. All the names are labels, words.
so intelligence energy.
That's a label too. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
All labels.
if you're going to talk about it, you have to label
Yes,
the
you
words,
do.
Yeah, that's right.
right? Which then does bring it into a dualistic form.
That's when the dualism comes in.
Yeah.
Vibration and activity of knowing. Any activity is a movement. And knowing is another label, what I call for intelligence. Not the intellect, which is working out in the mind, but the innate intelligence is breathing you right now, beating your heart, growing your hair and your fingernails, enabling those words to come expressed through you, because there's no thinker thinking a thought, thoughts arise. Seeing's happening. That's energy. It's all energy. Intelligence energy is the activity of knowing. Rather than use the term God, because the term God implies, you can come from some tradition. If I start talking about God, if you're Hindu, you'll start talking about Krishna, Vishnu, or whoever else you worship in amongst all it, or a Buddhist, you'll say, no, it's just this presence awareness, or somebody else will say Allah, or all different labels we put on the term God. So if you're relating to that label, whatever it is, you will miss out on what we're pointing to anyway.
So you really can't get there through thinking, because as long as you have to get there to really
Or
I don't know, experience it, or whatever you want to say.
just the activity of knowing. We're going to get to with that knowingness. The activity of knowing is going on right now. Where further have you got to go?
And who wants to get there?
You're already there.
Just a memory of yourself.
And get where?
And get where, yes.
So you're already that. Start from that fact. Start from that fact, whether you believe it or not. I'm already that. And that's what they tell you in the great mantra. I am that. And everything is that. That's the chair, that's the carpet, that's the tree, that's the mirror, that's the clouds, that's you, that's me, which we put labels or words on. Without the labels or different words which differentiate it, what are you then? It's all that one essence. No separation, no division, no beginning, no end. None of the concepts, and that's all that thinking is, a mental construct. A vibration that seemingly patterns vibrates into sound, which is word. It solidifies into something else.
So all pointers show you who you're not.
Yeah.
And must leave you with what you already are.
They come back to the place you never left. Not that there's anyone to come back.
And also, initially you asked that question that you actually mentioned that sometimes it feels like there is a choice or there is a decision to be made, and sometimes it feels like the life does it. Like, for example, I'm asking Bob, oh, would you like the Italian or Indian today or whatever, and it feels like he's gonna now answer or make a decision, and it feels like it is his choice. He usually says whatever I like, so now it bumps it on me. but again, now where is the thought or decision coming from? Like right now, okay, I'm thinking Indian or Italian. I don't know. There is no thought. There is nothing happening, nothing popping up. So there may be some sort of a searching going on. Okay, just picture this one, picture this, whatever, some sort of computing happening. But am I doing it? No, it was triggered from his question. So it was kind of environmentally triggered. So now I'm responding, the body is responding to the environment. And then suddenly one decision arrives or doesn't. Again, did I do it? I don't know. If I did do it, I have no idea how I did it, because it's just kind of shown up. So, and then if I did it again, who is that I who did it, and how it has been done? So when you see at this point when there is any doubt, it feels like, okay, let's say I don't have free will. Most of this is sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system that does everything on autopilot automatically. I have no idea how to do it. And now there are situations in which it feels so profoundly like, yes, this was my choice. If I have chosen otherwise, there would be completely different future happening. That's an imagination. But it feels like I've done it. But now, if you look deeper into it, okay, if I've done it, how did I do it? And now you look closer, contemplate, look, zoom in. Shit, I have no idea. I have no idea. It's just, it was nothing, and then it was something. Decision.
Decisions are made, but there's no decision maker. Choices are made, but there's no choice maker. Thinking happens, but there's no thinker.
So the mixture, you use the word of mixture of it feels like there is free will sometimes, it shows up, and there is no free will the other times. Just look at this moment when it feels like there is.
Because there seems to be a process, like you might be given two choices, Indian or Italian, and what I do is I usually check in with my body. What taste from memory, what taste do I feel like right now, the smells, that kind of stuff basically checking in with memory, and what do I want currently. And that seems like a process, and then you
it
come,
seems like you're doing it.
like you come to a decision on it, but you're saying it's all past conditioning. It's all very deterministic.
Well, see, who do you relate it to? Me. You related that I again to think the personal doer. But again, have a look. Is there a personal doer there doing anything?
And you said you choose from memory. Well, the memory is in the pairs of opposites, right? But then you claim it with a me, which is also memory. See?
Yeah, so functioning happens, because the other question you asked was, okay, but there is learning happening, like if I do something stupid, then I learned and I don't do it again. Or if I eat, Tony was saying, eat something bad and then I feel that I got the bad stomach, so I won't be eating it again. It feels like I consciously learn and consciously draw conclusions. But if you look at the cats, I give cats something that is bad, I guarantee you they won't take it again. They have such a good smell. They also make connections. They also learn. Learning is part of functioning. What is not part of functioning is taking credit. Cat doesn't take credit. I did it. I went to the memory to compare things. I don't know how to go to the memory. Look, if I ask you, what were you, let's say, 10 years ago or whatever, now that environmental question coming out from environment, which is me, prompts you to go to the memory. If I didn't ask that question, the memory is not being reviewed. Sometimes that question comes internally. but it also shows up and it prompts you to go to memory. You would not go to the memory if there was no necessity, if there was no trigger that would make you look there. So, and that trigger is usually, we can say, oh, but this is I have decided. Now again, how did you do that?
And there was a great statement years ago. Do you choose to think a thought, or does the thought appear upon you?
They all just appear, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they
Like,
do
so why would
appear.
you have all those thousands of negative thoughts?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't deliberately.
And like Bob says, yeah, that's right. Bob says if you had a choice, you would never have a single negative thought ever again.
Yes.
Because you want the best for yourself.
You said something about learning from experience. One said he drinks something and he learns next time he should not intend to drink it because of the consequences. Another proof that it's not me who doing this is it can transfer to next generations. So, for example, some experiment on mouses showed that mouses have a bad experience and their children, without doing that even once, they don't do that. They just don't do that.
That's true.
And it can transfer to 5 generations, according to scientific experiment.
That's right. Yeah. Amazing.
That's the intelligence energy doing that.
Yes. Not
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's no
The
name.
law.
It has to be.
Is that a sort of suggestion of karma?
Yeah, you can call it whatever you like.
And there was that, that just reminded me of that biblical saying that the sins of father
Father passed on to the children.
7
is
generations.
visited
Yeah.
on to so many generations.
Yeah, and it is, if you look at the way we are conditioned, if you look at the way the brain is constructed, and it's so many impulses that it needs to process to function in the world that is getting more and more complex all the time. So most of the activities are happening on the autopilot, and most of activities, including what we perceive, is assumed. We have to do assumptions. The brain lives on assumptions, and all those assumptions are, the memory is used for it. Like, okay, I see the plant out there, now I'm looking somewhere else, but the assumption of it is still here, so it appears in the field of vision, even though I'm not looking, so I can't see it. So that's how the brain works with everything. That's how we have conceptual image about other people. That's why we have our concepts about religions, a lot of different concepts and beliefs that actually keep the world together. That's why we believe that certain food or certain diet or certain behavior or certain whatever is good or bad. We would not be able to function. It's just the computer would just not be able to process things if they were continuously fresh and new without the assumptions. That's why the conditioning, that's why the patterns are habits. You ask about the breaking habits also, because the association with the me and identification and projection of everyone else being separate entity, it is also a habit pattern. If those habits or any other habits can be broken, yes, they can. They again require the whole universe conspiring, because they have to be a response to because the I and the environment are one. So if I want to break any habit pattern, I have to get the motivation, inspiration, and all that stuff that has to work together with seeming conscious decision, because it will feel like now I'm determined to whatever, do quit smoking or whatever
You're saying so who wants to quit the smoking?
Yeah, that's how it appears to be. So I say I can't choose to quit smoking, but the whole universe can conspire in a way that suddenly every book I open will show me a picture of contaminated lungs, and then I put the radio on.
That's exactly what happened to me.
That's how it happens.
That's exactly what happened. I wanted to give up smoking, just as an example. I wanted to give up smoking. I've been thinking about giving up smoking. I really didn't want to do it anymore, blah, blah, blah. I cut down to 3 cigarettes a day. I opened the paper and it was 2,000 chemicals in every filtered cigarette. It was a quick campaign. I opened that paper that day and the last cigarette I had made me almost vomit. And then I went to a meeting one night and my sponsor said, "What's wrong with you? You look a bit green." And I said, oh, I just really want to quit smoking. She said, well, stop it right now.
Yeah.
And I did. Never had another cigarette. She
So
said, give me your cigarettes. So I gave her my cigarettes.
And
And
you,
I never smoked again.
yeah, and we still say I quit it, I did it,
yeah, so
but
I don't
it's
understand. So how is that not a choice? How is that not free will?
who really did it? Did she print that paper? Did she deliver it to her house?
Did that other person give me a suggestion? Did she take
Yeah.
my cigarettes? Did, you know,
But you still apparently made the choice to stop.
there was an
Yeah,
attraction.
but
No,
I said before,
response.
choices are made,
Choices
but
are
there's
made, but there's
no
choice maker.
no choice maker.
Did you get tempted again?
No.
No, it's interesting.
Yep.
That happens a lot. You get a lot of messages come or little insights.
Well, I
that
was just
happen.
sort of validating what Kat said. You know, she said everything conspires, the universe conspires to, you know. There's no
Like,
choice
can the
maker.
universe conspire?
Well, whatever.
It's one. It is one.
Ask Kat, she's
Whatever
the
it's doing,
creator of
it's
the story.
it's the same life going through everything. What's that 100th monkey one? You've heard that, haven't you?
100 monkey effect.
No,
That,
I haven't heard that.
yeah, they taught some monkeys to use the tool. You want to explain
Yeah,
it?
and they found it on an island, way out where the monkeys had never been there. They started doing the same thing after a while. So they pick it up, and the same life is going through each and every one of us. And we're nature's evolving, you know, we evolve along with it.
So about back to the smoking and the inspiration. I have a friend, very dear friend, back in Poland who is my age, and she never really was inspired to quit smoking. She had a lot of stories that she would tell herself, why is it not so bad, you know? Not everyone who smokes has the lung cancer, not everyone who smokes, that's the only thing that is really her, that's really, you know. And then suddenly, I spoke with her a week ago, and she says, you know what? I think I'm moving to a new place and putting it down. I have no idea how it happens. Inspiration came, not well, it is a response. Even the motivation that comes from within is still a response to the environment, because you can't separate yourself from it. So sometimes the drive to do something or to change something or to learn something comes from within as a thought. But am I that thought? Or am I the one who actually created that thought? No. So it's a conventional word, it's a language, it's just a word that I'm using to communicate this equipment, this body-mind transmitter receiver sort of a device. That's I call it I. But did I really, let's say I decided to learn a language, new language or whatever, did I really decide it? Or the idea of inspiration or motivation sprung in that body, and the body followed whatever shown up in it? How could I choose that? So I don't know how to do that. It's like really, we don't know how the brain generates thoughts, how the brain generates images. And we know electrical activity, we know neurotransmitter stuff going on, but really how it comes as an end result, as a strong motivation backed by feeling that creates action, that's a mystery.
When you said inspiration, what do you do when you breathe in? You inspire, don't you? Where do you think that air comes from, and what's on it? Where do all the thoughts come from? Inspire, come in with a breath and translate it. We put so much on the brain. All the brain does is translate them. It can't do a damn thing if that life essence is not in it. But it's a life essence which everything is, and the body is formed to take what it can out of it and utilise it. So does everything else in this manifestation. Takes and utilises and forms pattern shapes and all those things. But there's still never anything other than that essence itself. What we call essence, that's just a label. If the life's out of that body, all those organs are there, and we put so much on them, what good are they to you without that life going through? Not a bit of good. So what are you? The life, or the body which is fat and shaped and formed, and all the other expressions of it? I'd take my chance on the life.
It's just that the habit of naming and claiming is so strong.
Yeah.
It's such a huge, you know, you even wanted to give me credit for stopping, which thank you very much, but it was nothing to do with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the intelligence energy just expressing itself that is kind of directing things, but
That's right.
with no purpose or goal in mind. It's just
Yeah.
That's right.
just
Just
moving,
flowing, just
energy
waving.
flowing. Yeah.
Yes.
That's,
And but there's no individual
that's right.
that is can be responsible for that.
That's
that
exactly
happening.
right. Yeah.
So
where would you take your stance there?
sorry.
When that statement you just made, where would you take your stance?
Yeah, well, that's what my mind's trying to work out.
My mind.
Where's my next position going to be?
Best you can
What
see
do I
that.
believe in?
Well,
You
go,
can see
go,
that.
go
What
back,
you
go
said
back
was
to the
perfect,
life.
though, like, you described it perfectly.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that. Yeah.
You
That's
are the
great.
life.
So
You are the life, Bob. So.
I had a
yeah,
friend,
yeah,
I had a friend that
okay.
used to say, "It's my mind. I can't do a thing
But I'm not
with
an,
it."
there's no individual, but it seems like there is.
It seems like there is, yeah.
So true.
So when I react in the moment and I say something angry or and not sort of control it or anything like that, that's just the energy moving. It's not.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It's not you being naughty, no.
Smack you.
So it's basically just calls you just to relax and chill out and
That's
just
right.
go with the flow, basically.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the ride.
Travelling
See
lighter.
what's happening, see what shows up, enjoy the ride. It's a magnificent expression.
And so when you notice
Yeah.
that naming and claiming, you know, you just go, there it is. It's just a habit.
That idea, the conditioning, that's just coming from conditioning, that implies time and conceptual
Yeah.
stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's
Totally.
all,
Yeah.
when you say that, so that's just all the
That's
story
it.
as well.
The story for the
samsara.
mind, yes.
That's samsara. That's what we've got. All the life of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, begins in suffering, ends in suffering.
Yeah.
All samsara.
Yeah.
Mm,
So it's all duality,
mm.
and duality is I.
Mm.
Yeah.
I is the duality.
Yeah.
But the very good point, Adrian, because look, if we say, you know, on the beginning was the word, when you were little, when you were a child, you learned the words, that implies that you were born, that implies that you were a child, that you were growing up, that implies the time too. So it implies that through all the experiences, past conditioning, experiences, school, society, parents, where are they now? They don't exist. They're just a story in the head. But sometimes it's kind of describing the duality in the parameters that are familiar for the mind, for the language, which means putting it in space-time perspective, calms the mind. Now, it's same as science, you know, giving it a little bit of an explanation. Look, this is happening this way. Or look at the animals. They also take choices, decisions, whatever. That's what happens. They're also learning. This all brings up time, which means it's not really a pure non-duality. It's an explanation for the mind. So the mind shuts up and goes park itself outside and experience. Yeah, that's really just the helpful pointers, which, okay, I get it. Mind very often has to say, now I get it. Now that will get off the way. But it's a beautiful, great that you actually see it. It is all story. The time is story. The childhood is story. The moment prior to this is a story. The working of the brain is a story. The learning.
Keep dropping any image or any memory of myself, like in the immediacy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's no, it's all just dead image.
I love what Paul Hedderman says, where there's the action figure, you know, and you can watch it. You can watch it, the hands moving, the responding, everything that, you know, happens. It's not happening to anybody, because there is no body, there is no me, you know. It's just responding, actions happen, but there's no action taker There's no, you know, it's just what's happening.
I remember there was one meeting also when Terry got really excited about the idea that there is no transience, because even transience, everything being transient, requires time. For things to come and go, to begin and end, it all requires time. So even the transience, well, it's not exactly there is no transience. There is a transience on the experiential level, because we do filter everything and interpret to the mind. So there is a perceived transience. But in the absolute, he's totally right. There isn't. There is just nothing. There is just, without the interpretation, without the calculation, labeling things out of the existence, there is a no thing. There is just a no thing. By the way, Terry is not with us, and that is because he is focusing his energy now on building his own pointing. He is already having, and that's also for people who watch us. He has the website www.terencestevens.com.au. So please check the website, because for another 2 weeks he's offering the free webinar. So anyone can tune in and join the free webinar. Later on, there might be an entrance fee. So he's growing. He's focusing on his own, to stand on his own 2 legs. As Bob says, he doesn't need to be in the next nest anymore. He's ready to fly. So wish him all the best, and join in for free webinar, and later on join in for the little entrance fee, because that actually brings more value to what you hear. terencestevens.com.au. You may learn about the transience and everything else.
Any questions, Jose?
I just want to, I'm a baby on this stuff, just learning about it. So I've been watching you on YouTube, talking to you out there, anybody who's today. It's about this duality thing. So listen what you guys saying and trying to interpret what you guys saying. So is the I and is myself, this awareness, this emptiness. Because I take away everything, experience and thoughts that were implanted to me when I was born. I put it this way, when I was born, I was nothing. I was completely empty.
Yeah.
So since I was growing up, through my parents and my friends and my family, I started learning things.
Yeah.
And memory and stuff is put into my head. But if I take all the stories away, the only thing left will be myself. This awareness, this emptiness.
That's right.
So the duality that you talk about is this awareness
Division.
and all this stuff that I learned. Is that what you're talking about, that's duality? Because I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, if I'm right with that, I'm saying, put in place for you guys, to just said before, running like that way. If I take all these memories away and I put it in a little box somewhere, I will be just completely empty, waiting for something to happen. And I use these words in the box to help me to react to that. Is that right?
Well, interesting
That's
way
a
to look at
beautiful way
it.
of
Yeah,
putting it, actually.
yeah,
It's
very
really
nice.
good.
Yeah, you wouldn't be conditioned, but a lot of these conditioned patterns are habits that are unconscious. So it's not really just consciously parking off the memories, because the pattern is, Bob often says that this life essence needs the pattern to express through. Without the pattern, you see, you need the instrument to have the music. Without the instrument, there is no music. So that
you said before about this, what you said about animals learn from something else, like that collective learning.
Yeah.
I have a thought of that, because when a baby's born and he start learning things, he can't touch the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he learns from that stage, I'm not going to touch the fire, so I feel pain. But my brother, he never saw me, he never did it, and I have a twin brother, and he went to do it as well. And all the kids do it,
Yeah.
and you learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
And what he said about the animals, is a concern about it, because all of us, we need to go and do it, be able to learn from that.
I cannot say I'll learn my stuff because you learn it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I had to go and experience it myself to be able to develop myself. So what I'm trying to say is I need to have experiences in my life, be able to grow to here. I was born in a different country and I had different cultures and ideas and how people react. And I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I think I might be wrong, is those experiences in the past that are helping me to develop the men I'm today.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. That's how you tune your instrument, and that's the music is a result of all the tuning throughout the whole life, yes.
So,
Did you want to say something, Bob?
well, yeah.
Yeah. You are the totality, the absolute. There's only the one absolute, and you are that. Now, you get intuitive thoughts. Some intuition will tell you not to go there or do that. You start to learn to recognise that more and more. That's the natural response that comes up. But as you say, you learn from other people as well. But base it mainly on your own intuition.
That's another question. Where did intuition come from?
Where intuition comes from.
Where does
Where is the
where
intuition?
does intuition come from?
Have a look at it. It's going on spontaneously out there around you. The earth's rolling around the sun, seasons coming and going, tides coming in and out, winds blowing. Everything is that spontaneous, natural functioning that we call this manifestation or appearance. But it's all appearance only anyway. But that intuitive thought implies there is an innate intelligence within you, a knowingness which is acting in you right now. You know that you are right now. Are you existing right now?
Yeah.
Are you conscious right now?
Yeah.
You're happy to be right now?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they tell you in Hinduism. Sat Chit Ananda. Existence, consciousness, bliss. Nama Rupa. The Nama Rupa is the name and form. The name is the label you got on yourself, and the form is the body you're expressing through. But it says the name and form, they're Maya, they're illusion. But it's existence, the being, another way of putting existence is being, consciousness, knowing, and loving to be. That's the natural state. But we learned all sorts of concepts and labels we put on it that seemingly obscure it. But leave it in its natural state, you are that awareness, pure knowingness. And in that, the proper thoughts or functioning, or whether it's proper or not, whatever happens will happen. But when we exclusively take on the idea we are this separate entity, we are this persona, and the word persona comes from mask. We've got a mask of concepts which we're obscuring ourselves with. When you are, take that mask off and see that you are the reality, you are the actuality. Because even while all this is going on, and if that existence is still going on in you, the knowingness is still there. And the wanting to be, that's what the outcome you always want to be, a good outcome. That's the loving to be. It's the base at which it all appears in.
So at least to one question I have prepared for this today is, you know that all of us, but I'm thinking about future, like if the future that you want to have a future, what's that? Should we thinking about future, like preparing ourselves, studying, working hard, pursuing success?
Well, you go that from your conditioning
Yes.
the school. But future, that's another thing you need to look at. Look at the concept of time. Ask yourself, is there a past if I don't think about it? To stop a thought, what can you say?
Does exist? But no,
In your memory.
in my memory. Yes, that's right. But without that past, won't be able to have this
And the
present.
same thing is there a future if I don't think about it. So you can't say there's a past or future without thinking it. But you'll say, I was in the past. I'll say, well, go and try and live yesterday. Yesterday is the past. Go back and live yesterday. You can't, but you can recall it. You might remember it when going, you recall it. The only reality you're giving it is when you're recalling it right in this moment. Because, you know, what you thought a minute ago now, you can't even tell me unless you recall it. The same with the future. You can anticipate and imagine the future, what you're going to do when you leave here or next week, or make this plan or that plan, but you can't live a moment in the future. So instead of trying to stay in the now, see you can't ever get out of it. When does now begin? Well, to try and live on it, you've got to say it's beginning right now, but even as you're saying that, it's ending and beginning again. So it has no duration. Time is duration. To get from here to the end of REM takes what you'd call time or duration. But there's actually no time. It's all spontaneously emanating in this moment. Spontaneously. And what's doing it? That same life essence that's rolling the earth around the sun, causing the seasons to come and go, that's breathing you, beating your heart, growing your hair in your fingernails. What are you doing about any of that? You're saying to yourself, I'm going to take the next breath, worrying about it, or I'm going to beat my heart. You're not. It's going on spontaneously. And what's your next thought going to be? You don't even know that. Thoughts will come up. Because then how we separate them and take delivery, it's all happening to me and I've got to do this and got to do that to keep it going. And that's when we first learn the words, when we say, instead of saying, we learn the word I, we add onto it myself. You know, it becomes the personal self. But there's only one self. That's the Atman, it's the one self. It's self-aware, self-knowing, self-seeing, self-fixating, doing everything is that one self. Patterning, shaping, forming, expressing is everything. And there's no personal self whatsoever. And that's when all our problems come about from, relating it to the personal, the separate entity, the individual. When there's no such thing, as we pointed out before, there's individual, there's nothing divided at all. It's all that individual essence. And you can only and ever be that already. You don't have to get it or become it or try and find it. You are already that.
Does that answer your question?
It does, because I've been watching you, but also relate to that. So why should I continue pursuing things then? So why should I continue going to study to get my degree or my master? Or why should I continue working so hard to achieve success then when future is not happening and is, like you just said, I don't have to worry about my nuts growing or taking the next breath.
Try not doing it. Try not doing it.
Yeah.
So what?
Try not doing it.
Can't stay in bed all the time.
Yeah. Try not doing it. It's a natural functioning. It's a natural functioning. Even without
I'm not worried about it. The thing is, I'm not worried about it. The thing is more like, so what should I do then?
Who wants to know?
You realise you've never done anything.
Yeah, Bob is saying something. Yeah. Bob, you say? He's never done.
I said you realise you've never done anything. What did you do about when the father and your mother and the sperm and the ovum came together? And you were nothing but that little sperm and ovum when they came together. What were you doing about it then? Did you say, why am I come together here? Did you say it then when you didn't even have a brain? But it's formed a brain, it's formed that little fetus, a little embryo, and it's formed you and living and expressing as you right now. It's the same intelligence in it, the same essence that's doing it. The essence hasn't changed, but the pattern, shape and form has changed, which has formed around it. So you have never done anything, never can and never will. Recognise that and watch it happen by itself. What's the earth doing about rolling around the sun? Going to say, I'll move over here today or there? It's not, it doesn't know where it is.
And you also mentioned a baby on the beginning, that the baby has this plain, clean slate and it doesn't have concepts, it doesn't even see properly before that one is learned. So baby doesn't do anything at all. It is being cleaved, it is being, it is rolling, then it's learning how to walk, then it's learning words, but it's not doing it. It doesn't construct the self. It's not saying I am here and not there. till the age of 2.5, when it has enough concepts and symbols. But that very baby is in that natural state. And coming back to the natural state is coming back to the state of being curious child that is looking around. Oh, I wonder what the body is going to be moved to do now. Oh, it's going to go and earn money or study. This one is part of the functioning. Like the squirrel, they don't, the animals, they don't believe in the past and future. And she will still, or he will still pick up a little nuts and hide it for the winter and forget where they're hidden, and then the trees will sprout from it. That's how nature functions. So now you can say, okay, I don't need to work so hard to get that extra pennies so I can go for the extra vacation and can show it on Instagram or something. You don't have any story about what is happening anymore. Now you are just looking how the grass is growing, how my body is moving and cooking or going to work with no story. So you don't do it because you have to, you don't do it because there is a reason for it or there is no reason for it. Don't create the story, what would be the reason or why are you doing it. You just see how the life is leaving you. See how the life is getting you up in the morning on Monday and going to work.
When you say, why should I do it? Why should you go to the toilet? Say, oh, why should I? I'm not going to go. I don't want to be around after.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to love you and leave you.
Yes, well,
My
that's
phone died, so I've got to go and get a new phone.
Oh.
I've got no phone, yeah.
have we
Don't
got.
ask me if I dropped it in a bowl of soup.
You are not the doer. You
Yeah,
innocent.
it's not my fault, of course.
Everything
Lovely to see
contributes.
everyone.
Yeah, the whole universe conspired. If the soup wasn't there.
Must be time for a new phone.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.